Suave.
I've been in my bag for a while, I'm invincible. Story of a young boss, grinding shit get critical. Calling on my bros one time, cause you special. I had some hoop dreams of right rounds for my mentor. Every target that I shoot is on point like a pencil. Different road, changed relationships, I'm so sorry. Came up from the trenches and I made it, I say hardly. Now
I actually got fired from this job, by the way. I don't know if did he tell you that?
Nah, so we gotta hear
fired.
about this.
I got fired from this job. Although I think it's justified. I think it's a
Okay.
valid reason
For getting fired.
for getting fired.
I gotta hear about this. Now tell me about the Soda King Science Project.
Oh my. What? That's crazy.
Tell me about the Soda King Science Project.
So they just telling it all.
Alrighty, guys, we are back with another episode of the What's in Your Bag podcast presented by Bet Online. As always, I'm your host, Andrew Robinson, and as you can see, we're joined by an incredible special guest today. But before we get into our special guest, we gotta take a quick pause, man. Stop what you're doing, guys. And if you're hearing us on YouTube, make sure you stop what you're doing, give us a thumbs up, subscribe, tell a friend. It goes a long way. If you're hearing us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, drop a comment, give us some feedback, give us a rating, all the above, positive, negative. We love criticism as well. You know what I mean? You can learn from that too. So give us some feedback and make sure you guys are also streaming my guy's music, man. Let's put up Tay on the intro. It's going to be him on the outro as well. One of the hottest up-and-coming artists out of the DMV, guys. So make sure y'all show him some love, tap in, and stream my man's music. But now that we got the nitty-gritty out of the way, I'm pleased to be joined by somebody who I had the pleasure of meeting not too long ago at your art exhibit that was absolutely incredible, for me. And we're going to get into the reasons for that in a little bit, man. But this is somebody who has an incredible story. I got to give a shout out to my guy, Austin Mason, for getting Keegan in this chair because, as you guys know on the podcast, we always try to throw lobs and give assists. So, without Austin, my brother wouldn't be here right now. But this is somebody who's done incredible work in the art world, has worked in tech. Also a former athlete, you know what I mean? I guess we can really say current, because I heard you still nasty too, you know what I mean? But we'll get into that, man. But we are pleased to be joined by Keegan Carter, who is an incredible abstract artist, and I'm excited to have you on today, brother.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for opening up the space for me. And yeah, I'm excited.
Yes, sir. Now, before we get into the nitty gritty, man, I want to talk to you about Japan, brother, because I played in Japan, and we talked a little bit at your exhibit about you were going there. I know you recently took a trip out there, man. So how was that?
First of all, thank you again, because you sent me some recs.
Yes, sir.
And I don't know if I hit any of the recs specifically, but the general areas I hit.
Yeah.
The trip was, for lack of a better word, phenomenal. I spent 10 days total in the region, 8 days in Japan between 5 cities, and then 2 days in Korea. I had a ball. I have so much appreciation and respect for that culture that I was taking it all in. So, it was a phenomenal trip.
What would you say was your favorite part of the trip? If you could reflect on maybe a certain part of it, a memory. What would you say your favorite part?
Standard stuff. Food was great. Even down to the 7-Eleven meals. Phenomenal, right? Can't go wrong. All the standard stuff. Sightseeing was cool. Shopping was cool. But for me, certain things that I just recognize about the culture, like I'll never forget. Certain. The one thing I keep telling people is it's one of the cleanest places I've been. In particular, Tokyo.
Yeah.
Even like Osaka, but there's no trash cans anywhere on the street. So there were times where I had bought something to drink and I'm walking around for hours. I'm talking about hours and have nowhere to throw this thing, but there's no trash anywhere. And after a while, it hit me that there's no trash can because they don't do things on the go like we do here, right? Like there's no need to have trash cans at every single, stopping point, because they're not drinking on the go, they're not eating on the go, they're not drinking on the train, eating on the train. If you buy something at 7-Eleven, you either eat it, drink it there, or you wait till you get home. Yeah. And things like that are just embedded into ways of life, I feel like are super cool. Yeah. And so things like that, the queues, waiting in line, how quiet it is, even if there's thousands of people around you, their way of life really had an impact on me. So that's probably my biggest takeaway beyond the food and the shopping and stuff.
Yeah. Man, I think that was the one thing that I think that threw me for a loop, because you would think of, people always say, oh, Tokyo is like New York, but it's like, it's not, because it's way cleaner. There's no rats. It don't stink. Like,
No.
the subway is amazing. But I think even if did you notice, like, when you're in like the metro or the train station, like, everybody stands on one side of the escalator. Like,
Yeah.
so it's like everybody's like, and even on the train sometimes, like, people don't really talk. It's like everybody's just kind of quiet, like, looking around. It's just, everybody just kind of moves just in step. You know what I mean? And it's so interesting to see. But I think that's one thing I love about Japan, though. And it makes me question, like, how can kind of we implement that in America? Not the whole thing, but just like, it makes you understand that, like, you have a certain way of doing things, like, people can fall in line. But it's like, here in America, we're just so used to doing things a different way, that people kind of just go with it. But I saw you had an interesting encounter on your story with this photographer that you met out there. That was dope to see you kind of connecting with him, and you guys kind of taking pictures of each other. But kind of tell us about that a little bit.
Yeah, I think that just speaks to the candor and kindness of the people, especially the foreigners, at least from my experience. I was in, where was I? This is deaf. So I was deaf in Tokyo. I was in Ginza.
Ginza, that's what I was about to say.
Yeah, I was in Ginza.
Yeah.
Shopping, and I think I was, whatever that main street is, that's like super wide and they have it blocked off. There's no cars. This is sunset time, so I'm shooting pictures. It's beautiful. A whole bunch of people there. You've got the sun setting. You've got a whole bunch of glass buildings, a lot of reflections. Just trying to capture the experience of people. Like, I'm no professional photographer, but when I do shoot things, I like to shoot what life is like in that moment.
Right.
So, I'm just trying to capture things, and I'm taking a picture, and a guy walks up to me, and he's like, "Hey, your camera's so cool." It's the first thing he said to me. He said, "Your camera's so cool." I said, "Thank you, appreciate it." I was like, "Your camera's cool," because he had a digital camera. I was shooting on a film, sort of a point and shoot.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Your camera's so cool. I, can't afford film. It's too expensive. But I like your camera a lot. And I like your outfit." He just was, it was just like kind. And I'm like, "Yo, cool, thanks. What's your name?" So we chopped it up for a bit. And then at the end, he was like, "Can I take a picture of you and your camera shooting?" And I said, "Yeah, of course." And so he stepped back, he took the picture. Picture was fire.
I saw it. It was fire.
Picture was fire. And then I said, "Well, can I do the same for you?" And so we switched spots, and I took it on film. Of course, like, mine had to be developed later on. But yeah, I consider him like a new friend. After I got back and I developed the film, I sent him, the shot that I took and held them side by side. And I also follow his page. Like, his shots are crazy. But yeah, just those type of encounters, like, I'll personally remember for the rest of my life.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. Now, Japan's awesome for that, and hopefully I can get back one of these days, man. But I want to take it back, because I want to be get into your story a little bit. And obviously, we're both East Coasters, you know what I mean?
Yes,
from
sir.
Maryland, obviously from Jersey yourself.
Yes, sir.
And I heard you back in high school, man. You were voted most likely to succeed back in high school, back in Jersey. So first of all, I want to know. Obviously, I know you were elite at soccer. But I would imagine that if you were voted most likely to succeed, I would imagine mostly those things are maybe athletic based, but also just kind of, they probably just saw you and was like, "Yo, this dude, I know he going places." So I want to know, what about your upbringing? Just tell me about, I guess, you growing up back in Jersey, and what you can remember from, I guess, those early days, high school days, that you think contributed to people, I guess, holding you in that regard.
It's such a good question, because I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I don't think my upbringing was normal by any means. I think every aspect of my life is, like, unique, from family dynamic to living situations to even things I was involved in. I wouldn't. I guess nothing is normal, but I wouldn't consider anything normal. Yeah. That being said, I've always had a massive tribe or community supporting me, right? Like, blood family members and Black folks we call family. That's not blood, but they're really family.
For real, yeah.
Always had a massive tribe of support. And if I don't know, it's hard to say, like, what would have made me successful by any means, but I know that I was always passionately curious. and always willing to, if I was interested in something, go explore it. So maybe some of those qualities, play a role. But man, when I was younger, I wanted to make people laugh. I wanted to spend time with my friends. I wanted to work on my craft, which at the time was playing soccer and running track as well. Yeah. And I know I wanted to be successful. I just didn't know at what. But yeah, at the time, it was just being happy, making people laugh, and staying on top of things that I was like interested in.
Yeah. It's funny you said that you were curious in high school, because I remember in your artist talk with your mother, that was the first thing she said. She was like, you were like, Mom, how was I back when I was a kid? She was like, bad? He said bad? But she was always curious. She was always curious. So
yeah,
it's funny to see, like, not even funny, but it's just, it's no surprise that kind of stuck with you. And it's obviously still with you today. Talk a little more about that, though. You know what I mean? As far as that aspect of this curiosity, you know what I mean? And what that looked like for you at a young age.
I was mischievous. Whatever question was in the air, I had to confirm it for myself. So there's infamous stories, like when I was younger, pre-K, I would be, they say don't put crayons in the pencil sharpener.
Yeah.
Okay, why?
Right.
No, but why? You know what I mean? Like a crayon needs to be sharpened,
right?
Like a pencil. Why?
Right.
Like, and if you can't explain it, well, I got to figure it out. So
right.
I'm gonna put the crayon in the sharpener. Now, you could look at that as being defiant, which to a certain extent it is. But for me, it's just like, we need answers. You don't have answers.
Right.
You might be comfortable not knowing, but I'm not.
Right.
So a lot of my upbringing was like, I would definitely get in trouble, but not for the sake of causing harm. I'm never doing anything to harm anyone else. I'm just following my curiosity, right? I want to figure out what happens if I do that. I want to know why you can't do that. That doesn't make sense to me. Like my brain. Again, when you're a kid, you really can't do that all the time because you'll get in trouble. But yeah, I attribute all the things that I've ever fallen into or pursued just to that passionate curiosity. And I think in that talk with my mom, it's something I've always known, but I'm glad, she looks back and recognizes that way, because I used to be in trouble, bro, for real.
Did you ever figure out why you can't put crayons in the sharpener? Because I heard that as a kid too, and I still don't know the answer to that question.
My personal finding is that the sharpener of a pencil, the shavings of the sharpener pencil stay together, and they don't really change. They don't really change form.
Okay.
But crayon is like a wax. So when it's shaved off, it's like pieces.
Right.
And also, if you heat up wax, it could change form. So that could break a pencil sharpener. Now, I don't know if that's actually but that was my personal finding.
Right.
Like, oh, now it's stuck. It won't move. It won't work.
You figured that out, though.
I figured that out. Correct.
I never knew that. So that's news to me. That's news to me. So I kind of, with that being said, I do want to get into the exhibit and just that whole experience. Reduce me to who I am. And I know you also have a virtual version of that online as well on your website, correct?
Yeah.
So make sure that you guys haven't checked that out, man. Tune into the website, KeeganCarter.com.
You got
correct?
it.
Yep, and go and tap into that. But I just want to start by sharing my experience with the exhibit.
Oh,
and
I would love that.
I want to then kind of toss it to you to kind of just hear your response, and I have obviously a couple follow-ups. But so first and foremost, that was my first exhibit that I ever went to in my life as a art exhibit. I've been to art museums and stuff like that, so I didn't really know what to expect when I was walking through, the door that evening. And obviously, you walk in, like you're seeing like your name on the when you first walk in, and then you kind of go through these experiences, and I thought that was amazing. First of all, that we had like that interactive experience to be able to like touch, the canvas that you were using to paint on, and like feel the fabric and like do all those things. And then, you go from there, and then you go into the room with the screen. Like I didn't really know what I was seeing at first until you like explained it later. I was like, yo, like, but it was like a bunch of videos that are like overlaid and stuff that I'll let you kind of explain. But that was like crazy. And then you go into the other room, which was the room with the words all over the wall, and like you had to like circle the ones that I think you felt related to you like now or when you were a child. It's maybe felt like a certain emotion, and I'll let you kind of explain as well. But
Right.
so you go through that, you do it, and I'm like, all right, well, I know that he has art that he's like selling and things like that. So then you go into the actual studio and you go through the exhibit, and it's like, okay, cool. And obviously the art was incredible. And I remember going through, I'm sitting up, I'm talking to Austin, and then we get to the artist talk, with your mom, and just hearing like your story, and you kind of reflect with your mom, you know what I mean, was like, it hit me, because my mom passed away in 2016, and like literally the first question I think you asked her, it was like, yo, like, what was I like when I was a kid? And I just thought to myself, I'm like, yo, like, I wish I could ask my mom that question. You know what I mean? And just hearing her reflect on like the things that you guys have been through as a mother and son, and like losing her mom, how that affected you, and all that kind of stuff. And after that, I just remember the emotions that I was feeling in that moment. And I went back to the room with the words, and I was like, let me revisit this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I like started crying like in the room. It was just me in there, and I had a moment, and I was just like, yo, like, just thinking about the things that I felt as a kid, or thinking about the things that I felt with my mom just not being there, and like, it just moved me. You know what I mean? It moved me, and then like having that experience, and then like walking. I remember I walked back through. Everybody had left and went to the rooftop bar. I went back to the studio and like looked at the art again, and it had a whole different meaning to me in that moment. And that was my experience. And so first of all, I just want to thank you for creating that atmosphere and creating that environment. But if I'm just being honest and transparent, like before that, I didn't know what to expect. Like, artists, like, oh, we're gonna come in here, we're gonna be artsy, we're gonna look at some paint, and like, you know what I mean, cool.
Right.
But that was the first time I truly like experienced like emotion from seeing artwork, or like having an experience. And so the way that you were able to cultivate that was incredible. And I think that like that was something, just the whole title of the exhibit, like reduced me to who I am, and just the whole thing just hit me. And so I kind of just want to ask you, just when you were putting that together and you were trying to figure out, all right, I'm gonna have this experience, because I remember when you were talking about it, that was a big thing to you. I want you guys to be able to feel something and like have your emotions come about it. And I think obviously you were able to achieve that, but I just kind of want to get inside of your mind and kind of putting that together and what that process was like for you.
Yeah. Well, first, I'm humbled that you had that experience at my show, right? And I'm thankful that you got the opportunity to have like a secondary or tertiary experience on your own.
Yeah.
Because I heard that too. Some people were like, I went through with my friends, but I had to go through alone to really get it. So I'm glad you got that. And then also thank you for sharing that with me, because you didn't have to. You didn't have to when we first met, and you did, and you definitely don't have to now. So, I appreciate that, and I mean it. Yeah, this show was very much so experimental, and I would call it a show of inputs versus a show of outputs. Like, by definition, a show or an exhibition is based on outputs, right? Like, you've done all the inputs, all the work, and you're here to show off the fruits of that labor, right? Like, here is a show of output, but this was very much so, like, I want you all to get as close to possible as what I feel, see, encountered putting this together for myself. Right? And so that experiential side of the show was almost like, was the real show.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, the output, the individual works are just like the product of what happened.
Right.
But yeah, I wanted people to feel, I like to say, when you go to an art exhibition, you have 3 opportunities to connect with something. The first is the artist. You got an opportunity to connect with the artist. The second is you got an opportunity to connect with the artwork of the artist. 2 separate things.
Yep.
And then the third is you have an opportunity to connect with the space, the gallery, the room, the building, whatever it might be. But in this particular exhibition, I wanted to add a fourth, and I wanted to give you an opportunity to connect with yourself. Right? I'm setting the stage for you to feel the materials I work with, for you to think through the things I'm thinking through. But it's not for me to tell you this is how to feel. It's for me to say, hey, once you have this experience with yourself,
Yeah.
I hope you have some type of experience or some type of, you know, some type of reflection,
Yeah.
right? And so that fourth part is, I feel like, the key where everyone sort of had that opportunity to have a moment with themselves,
Yeah.
whether it was filling the paper or it was hearing about my story so that they can think, prompted to be thinking about their own,
Yeah.
or that last step where it's like, you know, what words do I really connect with now?
Yeah.
Are they the same when I was a kid? If they're different, why?
Yeah.
Or, wow, I didn't even realize that
Yeah.
I'm different in this way. Maybe I do feel you know, like those questions. You know, we live such busy, compact lives that we may not always have the opportunity to stop and think about.
Yeah.
And I really wanted people to have that moment.
That's awesome. So, for you, I know you obviously put the whole thing together, but did you ever get a chance? First of all, can you explain to the people? I don't want to leave folks out maybe having experienced the exhibit and stuff, and again, go to the website and check it out. But I want to talk specifically about the room with the words and the marker. So could you explain to the people a little bit like what that concept was, so they can have some context? But then I also want to know, did you have a chance to go in there and like have some time for yourself and examine that? And if so, what was that experience like for you? Like going in there and kind of sitting with those thoughts and emotions and the feelings.
Yeah. So, quick recap: Reduce Me to Who I Am is a show about, you know, self-reflection and the evolution of like human identity, right? How that changes over time, how we present ourselves to the world, and how that reflection changes how we view ourselves. Different rooms represented different aspects of or components of the show. The room you're talking about in particular, I called the collage box, and it was a physical box that you step into. Inside, there were reflective panels, almost like little mirrors, and there were words scattered around the entire box. Descriptive words, right? Like confident or shy, inquisitive, loud, quiet, noisy, you know, things that describe folks. And the instructions were to put a circle, some type of fluid shape around words that you identified with as a kid, and then put a box or a rectangle around words that you identify with now as adult.
Yep.
And the idea or concept is that when we're kids, we're very fluid in nature, right? Like we're untouched, we're free, unbound. That's who we naturally are as people. And then we grow up and we learn how you're supposed to be, and you know, social cadence and things that you can do and can't do, and we become a little bit more rigid. And that is that's basically one of the primary components of my work. So that's the connection. But I wanted people to like have that moment for themselves to realize, in what ways am I similar or potentially very different than I was as a kid before, you know, the world got a hold of me. So that was your question was, you know, explain it. And then did I have a moment to myself?
Yes.
I did. It was unexpected. So I don't know if I told people this, but when I first set the box up, I wrote a good amount of words myself in black. All the markers where people would circle are going to be colorful. So the expectation was at the end of the show, I'll come back. There'll be black words still, but there'll be a whole bunch of squigglies, squares, or circles with colorful markers. I want to say this is Saturday, maybe like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night, shortly before the artist talk. And I don't even know why I was there, but I needed to grab something. And I walk in and I realize, 80% of the words that are here now I didn't write. I don't know if you remember, but no part of the instruction said to write new words. People just felt compelled to do that, and I loved that.
Wow.
I love that. I didn't instruct people to do that, and so in a moment, and again, I didn't have the time to sit there and take it in, but I'm standing in here and I'm like, I didn't write that. And then I just took a step back and realized most of the words in here I didn't write. And not only did I not write them, these are words that other people resonated with so much that the words that had the most interaction with are words that some bystanders, some person who attended wrote themselves. And that was the highlight of the show for me. Like, wow, for you to feel, or for a group of people to feel compelled, not only to just go through the show, but to add to it in a way that they weren't instructed to is real art to me.
Yeah.
Like that. I couldn't ask for anything more. That is the pinnacle of expectation. So, yeah, I had a moment. It wasn't that long, but it was definitely special.
That's fire. I think that was something that, again, when I went back the second time and you really like reflect on just the things that you've been through as a child, you know what I mean, when you're young, when you're the most impressionable, you know what I mean, whether it's trauma, whether it's joy, like happy times. And a lot of times I found when you've gone through, tragedy or loss or things like that, it's like you almost try to like suppress everything that happened like before that. You know what I mean? And you like you kind of like forget or just block out that phase of your life. You know what I mean? And it's like when you have a moment as an adult to really sit back and sit with those emotions. I know everything that you said. I'm pretty sure I wrote it down. Like when you talking about, you said this on your artist talk. It was like paying attention to what's going on in your body and what's coming up for you, and then having enough respect for it to do something about it, or at least sit with it. And you said that during your artist talk, and it spoke to me because I think that's something that I have been ignoring for a while. Like, it be times now where like I'll see pictures of my mom like in my camera roll, and I'll just like scroll past them real quick, so I don't have to like sit with that emotion.
Right.
You know what I mean? And like whatever comes with that.
Yeah.
And so I think that was the first time in a while that I like saw a word and an emotion, and it triggered like a memory in my mind, and I just sat with it and allowed the emotions to like come out of me. You know what I mean? And I never knew that art could do that. You know what I mean? Like I never knew that art had that type of ability to like bring those type of emotions out of people. And that was the first time where I really understood why people pay what they pay for just certain art pieces. And I'm not even saying that maybe that's it for everybody.
Yeah.
But I was always one of the people that was like, dang, like this paint costs how much? Like this thing costs how much? And it's like people, at the end of the day, number one, people, if I make something, I'm gonna say it's worth whatever I say it's worth, because my time and my value is worth whatever I say it's worth. But with that though, I think that people attach experiences, memories, like artists are putting their soul into these pieces, and they want you to feel something.
Right.
And so I want to say thank you for like even opening up my eyes to that, probably even unintentionally. I don't know if that was your goal, but for me, that was really the first time that I just saw art in that way, and like allowed art to like really connect emotions and experiences. And like I think that's something that I want to try to do better, like going forward, just trying to sit with my emotions and be present and like let them marinate for a little bit, as far as just like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I know I want to make sure that I'm very intentional here. I receive everything you share with me, and I appreciate it, but I think you're giving me too much credit. And I'll tell you why. I don't think me or my art did that for you. I think you gave yourself an opportunity to do it for yourself. And so I would give yourself so much more credit than you might be giving yourself, because like, yes, I happen to be the catalyst, or whatever I said, or my work happened to be the catalyst, but you showed up. You decided to be intentional and be present, and you decided to take whatever, like you said, I didn't know what to expect. You decided to take whatever came at you and sit with that. And I have nothing to do with that, because any one of those things you don't do, you don't have that experience. Any one. And I just mentioned 3 very important things that you did on your own. So yeah, I mean, I appreciate everything you said, but I give you back the credit for that, because whatever you were experiencing, whatever came up for you, you didn't have to sit with it. You could have scrolled past it or suppressed it, just like you've done in the past, and you chose not to for whatever reason. And you should be proud of yourself. I'm definitely proud of you for it. You know, I think that's dope.
And I appreciate that, man. And I think, you know, like I said, for whatever reason, I think that you created a space, you know, for that. So I think at the very least, for that, you know, for you creating that space and that opportunity, I'm definitely grateful for it, for sure.
Absolutely.
And it kind of brings me to my next question, because a couple weeks after the exhibit, you know, you put this video up on Instagram, and you were like, looked in the camera, you're like, guys, I missed the mark. Like, I was like, huh? Mr. Mark? Nah. I'm like, nah. It's like, I thought you like you smashed that, and I mean I think maybe you were getting at a different kind of idea with that, but I kind of want to give you opportunity to kind of expound upon that a little bit because when you put that video, I was like, huh? Like I didn't understand like how
Yeah.
you could come to that conclusion.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to give you opportunity to kind of expound upon that a little bit and give us some clarity.
Yeah, long story short, the day of the show, so there was like a private preview Friday, and then Saturday was the main day of the show. And I have a good amount of supporters and even just friends that have followed my journey for years now,
Yeah.
that have been there basically all around the world, but primarily on the East Coast. So they had waited for the show to go live, and I had set the expectation 12 o'clock on the dot. You'll not only be able to access the website, but you'll be able to have your own virtual experience even if you're not there. I'm really big on accessibility, and having a technology background. I take a lot of pride in it. And so when that moment came and it wasn't live, and an hour later, hour and a half later, it wasn't live, and then even when it was live, it was a fraction of what I promised. I am happy to take credit for things I do well. I'm also happy to jump up and say when I miss the mark, right? Like I try to be brutally honest with myself, not in a way that's like self-deprecation. I mean, my mom mentioned I could be hard on myself.
Yeah. We gotta work on that.
Gotta work on that. You gotta be kind. But I like to balance it. Take credit for things you do well, but also just if I'm able to say, hey, this wasn't my best thing here, or I didn't really do a good job at this, I'm not taking that and going, oh, and because of that, I feel this way. Like, no, I'm just saying, hey, I'm calling a spade a spade. Hey, this could have been much better. That's all.
Yeah.
And I recognize that. And so while I didn't say it publicly at the time, for me, the show never felt like it would be completed until I had gone back to the drawing board and fixed the website. Even though no one asked for it, even though no one complained, I knew it was subpar. I knew it didn't match what I had promised. And so it was a personal duty I felt to do that. So that missed the mark was less about the in-person experience. It had everything to do with the virtual experience that just very much so was not.
That makes sense. That makes more sense now. Okay. So I think I want to ask you, like, you mentioned something just now about like you're very big on accessibility, and Reduce Me to Who I Am was obviously a very abstract concept, not only with the art, but like the way you were allowing people to purchase the art.
Yep.
And you had mentioned like this was an experiment because essentially that I'll let you kind of explain a little bit more, but you allowed people to purchase the artwork based on their salaries or however much income they made, and it was like a sliding scale as opposed to having a set rate. And I remember at the artist talk you mentioned, we'll see how this goes. You know what I mean? Like we'll see, what the results are. So I'm curious to know, like, what is it? A couple months after, what are your takeaways from that? And if you want to shed light on kind of like the thought process, and I mean you shared a lot about it in the artist talk as well, but what was your thought process between making that your path to sell the art, and then I guess hindsight now, what has been your takeaways from making that decision?
Yeah. So quick recap. We had a theme for the show, and then there were two sort of core tenets of it. It was affordability and accessibility in contemporary art. Yeah. Accessibility, I did one massive art piece, 24 by 8 feet, and then deconstructed it into 32 smaller pieces. Yep. Basically taking the like concept of like modular couches so that people could figure out a size and shape and style that like work for their space. Yeah. And then affordability, I just got a lot of feedback. I also see what happens in the space. There's a lot of folks who, want quality art, but when you find quality artists, they very soon just you can become priced out because they have an upward trajectory. Every time someone buys it for a higher price, that is how much all the art is worth. And so it's like bang, bang, it happens quickly. Right. And so, I don't know, I was just really inspired by this idea of what would it look like. Put it this way, I came across an article about 3 years ago now about Europe overall, but really Finland. And their parking tickets are, there aren't set numbers, it's a product of your income.
Yeah.
So, you could have a €80 parking ticket, or you could have a €200,000 parking ticket,
Fighting
right?
somebody.
Which I was like fascinated. There's a true story. This guy was hot. Like he had like a $200,000, 200,000 pound or euro ticket. I'd be hot. But it was fascinating to me, not from a punitive standpoint, not like necessarily targeting the rich, but more so like what does it look like to really focus on equity instead of equality. Equality is like this costs the same for me and you, whether you're a billionaire and I have no money, right? Equity is more so like equal impact,
Yes.
right? Like, so whether you or I buy this piece, it should hit us in a very similar way.
Yep.
And I wanted to explore it. And for me, like those are the things that are worth doing. Something that's interesting, something that is a question that you don't necessarily have an answer to, but you'd like to.
Yep.
And so, I went after it. And you said, what was the sort of result?
Yeah.
Really interesting results. So I have a lot of data that I won't say what the conclusions are just yet. But I do have data on what income bracket of a person purchased what works, looked at certain work. So, I have all of that there. But the general consensus is that anyone who purchased thought they paid a fair price, whatever their price was, because I did ask that question.
Yeah.
And their reasoning was that it was accessible to them. So I think the takeaway of the physical purchasing was that anyone that wanted to purchase a piece was able to, for the most part. But the philosophical aspect of it is, I think a lot of people left the show asking a very similar question, right? Like, oh, this is interesting. Like, and now that it's not a set price, how do I value it, right? Which I didn't tell people. I just like, you come up with your own conclusion and take that with you. So I look at it as a successful thought experiment, if you will. And then also, a successful avenue for folks who have wanted to collect my work for a long time and have not been able to because of financial reasons, had an opportunity to do so.
Love that. For the folks watching, are there any more pieces that people can still purchase?
There are.
Wonderful, wonderful. So if y'all hearing this, man, y'all can still tap in on the website. So go get you something.
There are.
Now, we've talked a bunch about the exhibit, so I want to get a lot of people to, like I said, go check that out. But I kind of also want to touch on your story a little bit. So I want to pivot a little bit, but this is something I'm going to reference the exhibit, but I kind of want to get more so about you. Your mom had mentioned something about you, and you kind of expounded upon it, but you mentioned that in the artist talk, you had said that like at a young age, you were like very like money hungry and like money driven, and like money was the thing that you were like going for. And that was interesting to me, and I wanted to kind of give you the opportunity to just share more on like what that looked like actually. Was it just more so like, and we think that was a result from, because I think a lot of people sometimes like you grow up in poverty and it's like, oh, I don't ever want to go back here, so I'm just going to chase money and dollars, you know what I mean? And some people it's other reasons, they just kind of want to have nice things or live a certain lifestyle. So I kind of wanted to ask you, like, what do you think that stemmed from, and then what did that actually look like on a day to day?
Well, it's definitely not the same. I'm not as money motivated, nowhere near as money motivated now as I was when I was a kid. All for getting the bag. But I think when I was a kid, I had a very distorted view and relationship with, money. I saw it as the solution to every problem I had ever witnessed, not just for myself, but for my family. I was very sensitive to issues I saw other people I cared about went through. And had just always thought like, oh, I can take it upon myself, and if I just make all this money, then I can solve her problem and his problem and their problem, and then I'd feel better because they'd feel better. And I think that became, I like overweighted the output, which is like success or being able to make money. And I underweighted at times the input, which is like, what are you curious about? What do you want to spend your time doing? What do you feel called to do? And so, looking back, I see that as very unhealthy. But it definitely set the stage for some of my pursuits today. And I'd like to think I have a more balanced approach to it. But yeah, from a young age, to be honest, even even when it came to sports, I never imagined myself as a professional soccer player because there wasn't any money in it, from what I knew.
Jeez.
Truth. These are real conversations.
Yeah.
And it's the question I would always get. So do you want to go pro? Are you going to do this? Do you want to do
play
that?
in college?
I did.
Right.
Yeah, I was a pretty good soccer player, and I think
Humbly speaking.
I was pretty good. I think if I'm trying to be objective based on where I was able to play, the competitive level I was able to play at, and the things I've been able to do, comparatively pretty good player.
Yeah.
That being said, I think the ceiling to which I was willing to sacrifice for it was directly tied to the potential output I thought I could get from it. Terrible way to go about it, right? So I worked really hard as a soccer athlete. I also ran track very competitively. But I worked really hard as a soccer athlete, but not my absolute hardest, right? Because I was splitting time, even in college, with like, okay, what business am I going to start, right? And when you're locked in, you're locked in. There's no, when you're done with the work, you can maybe do some other stuff in that time period. But like when you're locked in, you're locked in. And so looking back, I realize, one, I know internationally there's so much money in soccer. You know what I mean? There's really money, to be honest. Anyone out there listening, there's money in anything. You know what I mean? Like whoever owns a lot of people would make fun of growing up, trash collectors. Like you don't want to be a garbage man. Whoever owns that company is a millionaire.
Facts.
You know what I mean? Like there's a million ways to make $1. Like there's just so much money around the world that I think focusing on the any way to get money is almost a dilution of like what your gift can be. Focusing more on like, what are you passionate enough about, or what are you curious enough about, or what are you good enough at to be able to do better than anyone else, which would bring good to your situation and anyone else involved, is like so much better. And there will be fruits of that labor. So yeah, long story short, at least mentally, I kind of axed out professional soccer from a young age, and it became a means to an end, right? Like, this is how I'm going to pay for college, and then when I get my degree, I'm going to figure out another way to make a lot of money.
So you decided that before college? Like,
Decided that before college. I already knew that.
Wow.
I didn't. A lot of people will say, or have the story of like, yeah, I had my dream college. My dream college was the college that was going to be least expensive. Simple as that. I had I want to go here, I want to go here. It was like, I don't know if you had a similar experience, but junior year, I think it's July 1st, junior year is the first. You could get letters before that, but that's the first day you can get actual calls from coaches.
From coaches, yep.
Right? I'm like, whoever called, let's see what we got. Like,
Right.
it was that type of mentality.
Yeah.
And I definitely got calls beyond what I expected. But if I put myself back in those shoes, I very much so was using it as a tool when it was a gift, and it could have been a bigger gift.
You have any regret around that?
Regret. I try not to believe that I have regrets, because you get to choose, right? I either do it completely different, or I have the perspective I have now. Right. I can't have both of those. Right. So I look at whatever happened in life as it was supposed to be that way. Hopefully you take something out of it. So no, I don't regret that perspective. I mean, look, whatever happened in my life was probably supposed to happen that way.
Yeah.
But I try to apply everything I learned from those experiences to whatever's coming in the future.
Yeah. So the reason why I asked you, as far as like the money situation, like where do you think that kind of stemmed from, was because something that I realized probably when I was like in college was like, I didn't like to like share stuff. Like in like relationships with my partner, like people be trying to be cute. Let me have some of your food. I'm like, girl, people be joking like, don't touch my food. I was dead serious.
Yeah. But like, you're a twin.
Yeah.
See?
And I didn't like to share stuff. Like it was like, I'm like, I didn't really think nothing of it until like I got older, and I understand, like, yo, like, hold on, like, let's unpack this a little bit. Like, why do you not like to share? Like, why do you like hold things like this? Like, it's mine, like it's mine. You know what I mean? Like, And I realized that, like, you know, I grew up kind of like we didn't have much, you know what I mean? We grew up I was like lacking, just in lack in general, you know what I mean? So it's like, you know, you're eating and it's like, all right, we got to like ration it out. Like, sometimes my mom wouldn't eat. And it's like, you know, those things that you don't even really think about played into when I was an adult, like not wanting to share things or like not wanting to break down food with people or share clothes because like I feel like I'm not gonna get it back, like you know what I mean, or like this might. It sounds so crazy to say, like, this might be my last meal, but you don't know when you're gonna eat again. Like, if you have to really live with that as a kid and like not knowing where your next meal is gonna come from, like that has an effect on you inside. You know what I mean? And so for me, I had to like really like recognize that and try to unpack that and understand that like, you know, you can break those like chains and those curses. And I'm still trying to work on like being better in that area, but I felt like it was interesting, like hearing your mom say that, and I thought about like interesting because obviously you worked in tech, you know what I mean? Like you kind of pursued that, like people, you know, big bag and tech, money, like you know what I mean? So I'm like, I wonder if like that just pursuit of money was kind of one of the reasons that you decided to pursue tech, or like if you thought it was another reason, or just how that all tied into just your career choices after college and just how you kind of view that now.
My life is a product of luck. Very much so, hard work too. Yeah, but there's so much luck. Like how I got into tech is a fascinating story to me because I didn't pursue it. Coming out of college, I had okay grades. I went to a pretty good school, but like the big tech companies are recruiting the like sharpest tools in the shed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Of course they're coming. I was a school they came to.
Yeah.
But they're not picking me. You know what I mean? So
Did you go to Georgetown?
I did. I went to Georgetown. And so they're picking the guys and the gals with 3.5, 3.6, 3.7 GPAs, extracurricular. I was an okay student, middle of the road. I did a lot for my community. I ran a whole bunch of business organizations. I was, you know, hell bent on getting black and brown folks internships as much as possible when I was in school. So, you know, like I did a lot of stuff that was meaningful to me, but that don't translate into what those folks are looking for. So, you know, coming out of school, I was in startups. I was like in mobile apps, trying to build things from the bottom up, trying to be an entrepreneur. Google reached out to me three years after school on LinkedIn. I actually thought it was fake.
Yeah. I want to hear this story.
I thought, no, for real. I thought this is a true story. I thought it was fake. I told my friends, like, nah, this is not. Google don't reach out to people. You know what I mean? Like, this is a troll for sure. And then after a few days, I responded back like, maybe not. And it wasn't. And they basically had said like, hey, we're looking for someone like you. We're looking for someone to work with small businesses with Google Ads, but someone who knows what it's like being in their shoes. And you've been in the startup world. You've sort of built things from the ground up. You know how hard it is. You know what it's like. You could be a good fit. And long story short, it worked out in under 2 weeks.
Man.
And I was working, I mean, up until that point, you know, I had a startup that was like mildly successful, but the entire industry just kind of took a nosedive. We were building mobile games for celebrities. And it was cool, it was hot, but then it wasn't. And we were trying to figure out what to do with it. And like, you know, I got that message, and like I said, within 2 weeks I had the job, and within 4 weeks I had moved from New Jersey to Silicon Valley. You know, so when I say luck, I haven't planned most of this. It just sort of worked out that way. And as things come up, I'm sort of like, okay, well, that's interesting. Let's double click on that. Let's see what's there for me. And there's been a handful of things that work. Yeah.
Now, do you still work at tech now, or are you full-time artistry? Because how do you balance those two things, man? Because I thought that's kind of an undertaking in and of itself.
So I get this question a lot. Don't give me that much credit. I am not an artist that paints every day. I'm very much so an artist that reacts to inspiration. So I don't wake up and paint for 4 hours a day. I wake up and work every day. You know what I mean? But when I'm really inspired by something, I sort of work in sprints. When I'm inspired by something, I'm going, okay, great. Like for these next 1, 2, 3 months, I'm locked in. outside of that, like I'll paint here and there on a weekly basis, but I'm a firm believer that like you spend your time on the things you really care about.
Thanks.
So for me, it's painting. For other people, it might be playing ball. It might be going to the gym. Whatever you're doing throughout your day, you believe is a necessity for you.
Yeah.
And so for me, painting is just a necessity for me. So it's not hard to make time for it. It's just like you don't make time to eat, you have to eat.
Right.
You don't make time to work out, you feel like you have to work out, some folks. So for me, this is just one of my non-negotiables.
Nice. So do you see yourself ever like going into it full time?
It's another question I get all the time.
Yeah.
I'm not against it, but it's not my intention. I've been on both ends of the spectrum. I've been super business, tech, creative Keegan, and I've also been super non-business artistry. When I moved to Mexico City, I mean, I hadn't cut a beard or afro in almost a year. I was just painting every day, and neither one of those realities I enjoyed. Right? Like I mentioned earlier, there's multiple facets to me. So I enjoy being able to talk numbers and build business and drive revenue. I also enjoy being able to look at white space and say, what doesn't exist that can?
Yeah.
Right? So I need both of those things. So for me, if it works out that way, like that's great. I'm open to it because I try not to play a higher power. But I don't have an intention in putting pressure on my artistry to support my lifestyle and to pay all my bills, because I know it becomes something different at that point.
Yeah. I think it's interesting you say that, man, because I think it's always a point, not always, but a lot of times things that you kind of start as creative endeavors or like passion projects soon become like work and like a chore. And I think that's the fine line that a lot of people miss. It's like if you do something because you truly love it and enjoy it, you really got to be careful with walking that fine line.
Yeah.
Because if you got to decide on like, all right, I have to make this art to pay this bill and I have to sell this amount of pieces, it's definitely going to start influencing how you paint, and it's going to reflect, you know what I mean? That's not 100%. What you want.
You hitting the nail on the head.
Yeah.
And I know that.
Yeah.
And it's impossible, no matter how much preparation you put into it, it's impossible not to.
Yeah.
Right? Because your intention is different. Your need is also different too. I don't care how pure you want to be with your art. If you have to pay bills and this is your avenue to pay it, your brain is going to shift in a way that goes, what's the best way to make money doing this? Like it's natural. It's human nature.
Thanks.
Which, again, not a bad thing. Just know what is happening if you choose to do that, because that's what you're signing up for.
100%. So on this topic of just, I guess, money and finance and stuff, the $1,000,000 question people always ask is, do you feel like money can buy happiness? And I want to get your 2 cents on that question.
Can money buy happiness?
Yeah, or do you think, can money make people happy? People always say, man, if I had this much money, I'd be this and that. And I think the other side of the coin is, well, then why do people who have all this money, why are some of them in therapy or doing drugs and all this type of thing? People, well, man, because this X, Y, Z. So it's always the great debate that people always have. So I kind of want to get your 2 cents on that.
Can money buy happiness? Money alone can't, no. And the absence of money doesn't prevent happiness either. That being said, I view money as a tool. So I think many problems can be influenced by money. I do believe that. There's a handful of very important ones that cannot. But I think if you have a good relationship with yourself and your tendencies and your goals, then money is just an amplifier, right? This is my belief, anyone who is wealthy and struggling mentally already struggled mentally before they had money. They just have nothing else to pursue anymore now that they have money, and it's all going to come out. I don't think money creates illnesses in people. I don't think it does anything but amplify.
Yeah.
So if you're good with yourself and you're good with your people and you have more money, your life should be amplified 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, tenfold as much more money as you have, because
Right.
it's the amplifier. If you're not right with yourself, but you're ignoring everything because you're in the trenches, that like you don't have time to think about your relationship with yourself, your relationship with others, your tendencies, then it'll look like money corrupted you, but it didn't. It just helped expose what you were struggling with the entire time.
Yeah.
Right? So no, it's not. You can't buy happiness with it. You can amplify happiness. You can handle a lot of problems with it. But money is an amplifier. It just helps you see more clearly the good in your life as well as the bad.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, I feel like I always love having that discussion, because I feel like I want to be one of them people that can say, money can make people happy or can buy you happiness. But at the same time, man, I know a bunch of people in the hood that if you drop 100,000, 200,000, I ain't even know crazy money. Like, man, I'm talking millions. You could drop 200, 300,000 on them, and they could change their lives and get out the hood and get at least a crib somewhere nice to stay. They'd be a little more happy. They walk around with their shoulders a little taller than they normally do.
Come on.
But so obviously we've been talking a bunch of kind of heavier topics, man. I wanna change the pace a little bit, man. I gotta ask you a question, because like I said before, we were off air a little bit. I did a little bit of research, man, and our friend Jamad, he gave me some things to ask you about. So
okay.
He said one of the things that I wanted to ask you was your first job. He said y'all was working back at Five Guys together.
Man.
And so I want you to tell me about the Five Guys days, man. What was so crazy about this that we had to ask you about it?
Shout out to Jamad. Wow. Yeah, it's so crazy. So this is high school. Not my first job, but definitely one of the earlier jobs. Jamad was already working at Five Guys.
Yeah.
Holding it down. I think he was on fries. Neither one of us ever made it up to actually cooking hamburgers. You're on fries, or I don't even think we got on register. But just like this is where you start.
Okay.
Food prep, fries, and Jamad's one of my best friends, especially at that time. I think this is high school. No, this is middle school going to. Is this going to high school? No, this is high school, getting ready for college. And so if anyone has ever met both of us, we're just children. We're in the same room. We're just laughing the entire time, just kids.
Yeah.
And so at work, nothing changes. It's terrible. Like, we're laughing over the smallest stuff. But I'll never forget. I actually got fired from this job, by the way. I don't know if he tell you that?
Nah, so we gotta hear about this.
I got fired from this job. Although I think it's justified. I think it's a valid reason
for getting fired.
I
gotta hear about this.
We both work here. If anyone who's worked in food or hospitality, you got a schedule.
Yeah. Weekly
schedule. Sometimes it changes. There's shifts, but like, when you're on the schedule, you're on the schedule. And you can get people to cover you, but like, for the most part, you got to be on your stuff.
Yeah.
This is junior year. I'm going on official visits for sports.
Yeah.
That I don't know about until like a week before, right?
Yeah.
Hey, I got to go here. Maybe I can have someone come. Hey, I got to go here. I got fired from this job one of our coworkers threw a party, so everyone's at this party. I got fired at the party.
Oh.
Not even at the job, like at the party.
Were you supposed to be at work?
No. We just was chilling. Oh yeah. By the way, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I got fired.
For what though?
For schedule, just missing too many days, messing up the schedule, not being as consistent. I mean, they knew. To be honest, I don't think they wanted to fire me, but they're like.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. But that's a core memory. That is a core memory of my guy Jamad. Wow.
How'd you even what made you be like, yeah? 'Cause I feel like going into fast food, we're good Five Guys. Like, how did that? And you said Jamal was working there first. But what made you want to jump on board? Like,
cause he's like we laugh at everything, and I definitely needed a job. I wanted some money, and at that age, you're limited in terms of the things you can do because you're not an adult yet. Right. So. You can't really get most normal jobs. The main areas of things you can do is mostly in like food.
Right.
So I knew he had a job there. I had already harassed him a couple times, showing up when he's on the job. So I'm like, let me get some money too.
Facts.
Also, I looked forward to going into work with this guy because we just, again, it was like being with your best friend and making some money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's what it was like. So he was definitely the catalyst. But yeah, I got fired.
Do you have any memories with Jamad at Five Guys that maybe with him or y'all that particularly stick out?
There's one. I'm not gonna say that one. I'm not gonna say that one. He knows whenever he watches this, he knows the one I'm talking about too. I'll say there's two things. One, we had a lot of friends growing up on the East Coast. Like the way friends hang out, you just rag on each other, right?
Yeah.
So we had friends that would show up all the time just to make fun of us, video camera. Like, it's kind of nuts at the time, but it's funny because it's like that's how you show camaraderie, right?
Yeah.
But I think the biggest memory is just like we used to work with. It was actually a really interesting workforce. Like you had us, we're like 16, 17. We had some 50-year-olds in there, and there's this one guy, I'm not going to say his name, but he was on the grill, and he would just come out with the wildest sayings. And one in particular, we were having a conversation, I think, about girls, women. And he was like, all right, man, let's talk ducats. Me and Jamal looked at each other like, what are you talking about? What does that even mean? You know what I mean? Like, we're 16. That's not even close to the lingo we're using. I think that maybe was around in his day.
Right.
And even to this day, we sort of pull that out the woolworks. But yeah, just like
ducats.
Silly stuff like that. Let's talk ducats. What are you saying?
Yeah, I've never heard that word.
Never.
28 years on Earth.
Never. We were rolling. This is on shift too. What does that mean? Anyway, good times.
Yeah, that's
times.
crazy. Now, I'm about to add that to the bag too. Ducats. Let's talk ducats.
Let's talk ducats.
I'm gonna hit that. Next time I see Jamal, I'm gonna bring that out. Let's see what he's talking about. Now tell me about the Soda King Science Project.
Oh my! What? That's crazy.
Tell me about the Soda King Science Project.
So they just telling it all. Soda King. Jamal and I went to the same middle school, and so we had a middle school project, and you could either do an invention or I can't think of the word, but like an adaptation of an invention. And I decided to do. This is so stupid. I decided to do a soda machine that you basically can have in your living room, and so that whenever you wanted to drink, you can. That's so stupid. It didn't even make sense. So anyway, it's this upright soda machine. At the top, there is a circular piece, and they had hole cutouts for cans or bottles.
Yeah.
And then there's the structure, and then there's a chair in the structure.
Inside of it.
And it's on wheels, and then there's like a chute that comes right down to the chair.
Yeah.
And so basically you could be sitting in this chair, rotate the spinner on top to get a can to the hole,
right,
so that I could slide down and you can open it up. Who does that help? No one. No, this is not even close to being valuable in any way. But the key part of the story is this is definitely the project. And I lived about a mile away from the school, and Jamad lived all the way across town. But the morning of the show, we had to get it there. We didn't have a truck, so we basically are pushing this thing on the side of the road. Oh. It's like 7.5 feet tall, just a wood structure, chair connected, and this is middle school, so we're 10, if that, to 11. Pushing it in the morning. I didn't win anything for this. Like you know what I mean? Like, understandably so. I also am confident that I called it an invention, which didn't even pass the sniff test. It was not an invention. I didn't invent anything.
Yo, the more and more I'm hearing about your story, man, I'm seeing this curiosity factor kick in, man.
Yeah.
That's something else.
Soda King.
I'm
Wow.
trying to think how you would even construct that. Like how long did it take you to build that?
I'm not going to even lie to you. I ain't build it.
You didn't build
I ain't build it. I didn't. My mom, we had a family friend who worked in construction, and I'm not going to say that he did it all, but he did 99%.
99%.
99%. Like, I might have been there for moral support, if that.
Hey, when there's a will, there's a way.
That's right. Use your resources.
Facts.
This
That's
is
the key,
the
guys.
key.
Use your resources,
Use your
right?
resources.
Get it done. So, I want to ask you about that conversation that you had with your mom, and just what kind of takeaways did you take from that? Like, did you learn anything new, or just what were the emotions that were kind of going through your mind at that time? Because I feel like a lot of those questions were like super introspective, and you know what I mean. I think,
Yeah.
I wonder. I feel like it would have been hard to digest all that she was saying, like in that moment. You know what I mean? So, I kind of wanted to give you the opportunity to just, sit with that for a little bit and just kind of reflect a little bit.
Yeah. I think my biggest takeaway in that moment and even reflecting now is how much who I am and what I do impacts her. And not from like a detrimental standpoint, but like I'm not a parent yet, so I can only imagine what it's like to have a child and what it feels like. But in that conversation, I could just feel how much it meant to her to even be in that conversation.
Yeah.
I know it meant a lot to me, but it was interesting to hear. She's also very shy. Like, she doesn't necessarily love to, so it was evident. It was clear that moment meant a lot to her.
Yeah.
And it was it's interesting because I think if I imagine what it's like to be a parent, it's a thankless job because you have all these feelings, you have all this foresight, and you're really taking care of this small human who, for the most part, is never going to feel what you're feeling, is never going to see what you're seeing, and is probably going to argue with you in the entire time. So there's always a misalignment between like the two parties, right? The parent is operating with some type of love and guidance, and the kid is probably wanting to be rebellious, want to do whatever they want, right? In that moment, I felt like we had total alignment in how we were approaching it. We both felt humbled and thankful at the same time to be in that conversation. We both felt tremendous love for each other in that conversation. We both were curious about what the other was going to say. We both were a little bit nervous about what the other was going to say. It felt like a complete alignment and approach, which maybe a lot of people have more experience with. I don't. And I'd imagine that most people don't with a parent, right? There's just, it's a natural misalignment.
Right.
So, yeah, like my biggest takeaway was that was so powerful for me. I mean, she shared some stuff with me after that I won't share out of respect for her, but for us to approach something from a similar reference point and an alignment was like deep, because in that moment she wasn't just like my mom, she was this person sharing the sacred space with me, which is dope. It's dope.
So in that moment, you were kind of asking her a lot of questions, and she was doing a lot of the talking, and you were kind of reflecting. So if you could tell her something today, what would it be?
Ooh, if I could tell her something today, what would it be? Related to that conversation or just in general?
In general.
My mother has always said that I'll never be able to understand how much she loves me, and other people have told me that too. And I would say the same back to her, that you'll probably never know, and I'll try. Even I've not done a great and even a good enough job over the years of making sure she knows that. But even just from my own shortcomings, she'll never know how much I love her and I appreciate her, because I can't put it into words, and I'm sure I don't even fully understand the extent of it yet. So I guess I would just promise to do my best to remind her of that, and to do my best to recognize as much as I can while she's here, because she talks to me a lot about what it's been like to lose my grandmother, her mother. And yeah, so approaching with intention while I still have the gift of her presence.
Yeah. And you guys talked about that, about the artist talking, that was kind of like a pivotal point for her. And I guess she said that she had thought that was also a pivotal point for you. Yeah. Because at that same time that your grandma passed, you were moving to Google on the other side of the country.
Yep.
What was that time period like for you? Because again, on that night, she kind of shared a lot about her perspective on what that was. But for you, did you kind of feel a similar kind of detachment at that time? I know you had mentioned like you deal with grief in a different way. Like you kind of just internalize it and deal with it in a different way. So for you, like, I kind of am curious to hear like what that time period was like for you, moving away and things like that. Because I can remember, from me personally, like for me when I first went overseas and left my twin brother, like I didn't know what those emotions were going to be like. You know what I mean? And you're like on the other side of the world, and you don't have this person that you shared your entire life with. You take it kind of for granted, and now you have to sit with those emotions on your own. And I would imagine both you and your mom had to kind of experience that.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to know what that was like for you. And then it's also like kind of juxtaposed because you're getting this new job. Google hits you up, and it's like, man, like this is dope. Getting to work for a huge company, like it's a great opportunity. But then you juxtapose that with this great loss, that your family has experienced. So, what was that like, for you?
So I didn't go into this as much during the talk because I wanted to. That would have been a misalignment. Because I didn't have anywhere near the same experience my mother had.
Yeah.
Granted, that's her mom.
Right.
Right. And her biological father, she didn't have the greatest relationship with or even spend that much time with, of course. So I didn't either. So that was really her. Like that was her road dog.
Thanks.
You know what I mean? That was her parent. And that was like my best friend. Like my grandmother was my best friend. She's the sweetest. For people who don't know, I want to take the opportunity to say this. Most people don't know I'm not 100% black. My grandmother is a Jewish white lady, right? Like from Jewish lineage. She didn't really practice Judaism. Not even really. She didn't practice Judaism at all.
Your grandma?
My grandmother. But my grandmother was probably like everyone's favorite person, in particular black people, because she comes from an era where people treated black people differently. She never did. Yeah. In fact, sometimes she treated them better than she treated non-black people because she knew what they went through. She associated with them, and so the way I view my grandmother is just like this. She looked like a golden girl, but she's really, she's one of the ones.
Yeah.
So that was like my best friend at the time. She would pick me up from school. We spent so much time together. So when everything went down, my mother, I think you had mentioned it too. She had said that like I process grief differently, like I hold it in. Yeah. Again, I didn't want to there be a misalignment there. I don't hold it in, but I do allow things to flow. Right? I have a very strong belief that like emotions are temporary. Yeah. And it's us holding on to them that keeps them there. But they flow. They have wheels. They're not stationary. Yeah. It is whatever we do to or not do that holds them there. So my grandmother passing it hurt me deeply, but I understood it. She was older. She had COPD. She was on an oxygen tank for the last 10 years of her life. Right? So in my mind, not only was this not a surprise, it was inevitable. Right? And I took my time to process it, but also she lived her life. I had my experiences with her. Anything that I continued to feel negatively about it would be my doing.
Right.
Not emotions taking over me. It would be me holding on and saying, I refuse to allow you to flow. I refuse to allow another emotion to come. I refuse to allow positive thoughts to. That's not me. So they flowed through me quickly.
Yeah.
I still think about my grandmother like every day.
Yeah.
That being said, I'm good with it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I don't wish she was here. I don't wish it was different. I'm not a higher power. Like what happened was supposed to happen. I'm thankful that everything I got to experience, I did. I'm thankful that I got to know her in the way I got to know her. Some people never have that. I'm thankful that my memories are positive.
Yeah.
That's what I keep with me. So during that time, I was working on a startup that, we had talked about that really wasn't working out. And I got this call from Google. I had nothing but thoughts and emotions of jubilance and excitement and curiosity. And like, wow, I also was like struggling with pride. I went to this pretty good school and I working on this startup that's not panning out. All my friends got good jobs. They got their own places. I'm back at home.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it.
Yeah.
And again, nothing wrong with those things, but I'm sharing the emotions I had at that
real.
time.
Yeah.
I was really working through pride and ego.
Yeah.
Oh, you should have this. You're supposed to XYZ. So this opportunity was it changed everything for me. Wow, like I have an opportunity to make some money. I have an opportunity to learn something brand new, make something of myself, be out on my own, explore. That period of time for me very much so isn't riddled with like pain, but it is for my mom.
Yeah.
Right? So again, I talked about a parent and child will rarely have this experience of having the same reference point.
Right.
When we had that conversation, totally different reference points. And I chose to be more respectful to what her reference point was in that conversation.
100%.
But for me, I didn't have that. Not because I was suppressing emotions. I had let them flow through me.
Dang, that's good. That's good. And I feel like the way you explained that made a lot of sense to me as well. And I want to ask you, man, because I feel like for people who haven't seen the exhibit, I keep referencing the exhibit just because it brought up a lot of things that I wanted to touch on. But something just now that you brought up was you said like you let your emotions flow through you.
Yes.
And you mentioned this at the exhibit as well. Like you said, I'm a very emotional person.
You gonna talk about me crying?
Yeah, no. I wasn't even going there. I was more
Okay.
so going to the point where I think 2025 we're finally at a place where it's a little bit more acceptable for men to be emotional.
Yeah.
Because there was a time where if you say I'm an emotional man, people going to have a different connotation as far as what that means. You know what I mean? And it wasn't seen as like a positive thing. So for you to even be able to say, yeah, I'm emotional, like, or people got this whole thing now, the sassy man era. And it's like, well, I don't even know what that means, but
Yeah.
I feel like that's a journey that I've also went on.
Yeah.
Is I'm way more in tune with my emotions now than I ever was when I was younger, and being okay with that. You know what I mean? So for me, I kind of wanted to ask you your perspective on that, and just the whole idea that like I guess men have to be able to like express emotions a certain way. You know what I mean? I think that you, from the brief time that I've been able to get to know you, have done a really good job of being able to articulate your emotions, express your emotions, and obviously put them into creative works as well. But I kind of want to just expand on that for you, because as far as the crying, I wouldn't even. I cry all the time. You know what I mean? I don't got no problem with crying. You know what I mean? So that ain't nothing but a thing. But I kind of want to just ask you your thoughts on that though.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know how much people believe in like zodiacs, but I'm a Cancer, so this whole like sensitivity, like emotional thing has always been tied to me. I don't know if it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy or if it actually is true, but it's a thing for me. I would challenge anyone who thinks that one shouldn't have emotions or that men don't have emotions. I would challenge them that that's completely wrong.
Yeah.
Now, that being said, I'm a firm believer that you should be able to manage your emotions, right? So I think we might be using this term wrong, right?
Yeah.
Like, to me, emotional, or a man that is in touch with his emotion is aware of when they're present. And every human, but specifically man, should be aware of what emotions, at what points, come up for him,
Yeah.
be able to sit with them, process them, not hide from them, and then move on from them.
Yeah.
Right? I think historically, when we talk about like an emotional person, we're not describing a person who feels emotions. We're describing a person who doesn't know how to manage their emotions.
Yeah.
Right? Make no mistake, you don't want to be around a human who doesn't feel anything.
Facts.
Make no mistake, that is a scary sight.
Yeah.
Right? And any woman, at least if we're talking about heterosexual relationships, seeking out a man, you want a man who feels.
Right.
You want a man who knows. If you're asking a man to be gentle with you, you're asking him to feel.
Right.
Right? If you're looking for someone to raise kids, you're asking for someone who knows how to feel.
Right.
And when and where to use what emotions, and when to not let certain emotions be shown. Like these are things that I think are a very human experience. So, I'm very emotional in the sense that like I feel a lot of emotions, especially other people's emotions. I've become very good at sort of processing them and being able to talk about them. The downside is like I can intellectualize emotions really easily, which means sometimes you sidestep the full extent of the feeling because you can just characterize it. Yeah. That's some therapy findings right there.
Actually, I was about to say, I never heard that intellectualize your emotions.
Yeah.
Dang, that's interesting.
Yeah. So when you become really good at talking about it, that you start to believe your own BS. Yeah.
Sheesh. That's deep. That's deep. I want to ask you for a piece of advice, to be honest, because I feel like something that you're talking about is something that I would like to improve upon, which is like the idea of, because you mentioned like with your grandma passing away, you were able to feel those emotions, process them, and like let them flow through you, and like you were saying, I feel like for me, I'm still at a point, and maybe just over time, and I got to get better, but like I'm still at a point where I was telling you, like I'm scrolling through my phone, I see pictures of my mom, I'm like, like I don't know if it's like a therapy thing or if it's just like maybe just more time, like I don't know, but I kind of wanted to get your advice on that because I feel like there's a lot of people who probably are dealing with that in some form or fashion, like ignoring emotions, suppressing emotions, and like whether it's a different pain point, whatever that trauma is for them. I kind of want to ask you, how did you think you arrived at that? Like, was that just something have you always been that way? Did that take work or therapy? Like, how did you kind of get to that point where you were able to kind of like flow through it, and you know what I mean? Because I think that's difficult.
Yeah, it is definitely difficult. My upbringing plays a very large role in like how I am today. There are many circumstances as a kid where I didn't have the space to feel everything I wanted to feel and that be okay. And so I had to learn early how to process or manage my emotions because some other maybe adult in the room couldn't. Right. So one person has to do it.
Right.
And sometimes there's pressure put on kids to have to figure that out. And like that was my experience for a lot. At least this is what it feels like looking back, working through therapy.
Right.
So it's just a product of basically survival. Right. Learned very early on that if there's multiple emotions in the room, in order to remain sort of safe, and I use safe not to mean like physical harm or anything like that. I want to be very clear. There's never any danger like that. But I'm talking about the feeling of safety, right? If there's multiple emotions present and you know that in order to get out of this intense situation that's very uncomfortable, one of those emotions has to be tamed and the other person or the adult or whoever else in the room isn't able to or is choosing not to, then you know that the equation means you have to.
Right.
So it just becomes a practice, right? It's like A plus B equals C. Like, okay, then I got to do it.
Yeah.
And I think I became very good at that. I grew up a little bit of a people pleaser, again, for safety.
Yep.
So that's where it came from. But in terms of like let's take your example.
Yep.
With the pictures on your phone, if you don't mind.
Yes, let's do it.
Some of the bigger questions are like, okay, what are you avoiding?
Are you asking me?
Mm-hmm.
To be honest, bro, it's like I'm kind of similar to my story is kind of similar to your mom in that like my dad wasn't really in my life growing up, so she was like my like everything. You know what I mean? And not only that, but she was also sick for the majority of my life. So like me and my brothers were like her caretakers, and like we saw it through like to the end. You know what I mean? Like literally like we were in the room and doctors were like, "Yo, like she on life support.
Right.
What do you want to do?" And having to make that decision to like pull the plug on your mom is like something I don't wish on anybody. You know what I mean? So I'm not gonna lie, like whenever I just see pictures of her, and she's my lock screen, like you know, this is her. Like people always,
love it.
It'd be funny. I don't know if the camera will focus on her or not, but people always go, "Oh, that's your girl, bro." Well, no, this is my mom. Like, and it's like I just will see pictures of like when we were younger, and like I just become overcome with emotion, bro. Like I just want to cry, like I haven't got to that point where I can like see like pictures and videos more than like a couple seconds outside of this one because it's my screensaver. But like if I see like videos or pictures or like I hear her voice, like I just become overcome with emotion.
Okay.
So sometimes I'll be like out, you know what I mean? Oh, let me show you this. I'm like, ooh, like, I'll really start breaking down. You know what I mean?
Okay. So sit with that. What would happen if you did in that moment?
I don't know. I guess it's more so just like I don't want to be like out with my friends and then just start crying like about my mom. You know what I mean? I guess that's really what it is. Like, what you crying for? Like, oh, it's like a picture of my mom, and then we got to go through the whole spiel. That's really what it is. I feel like it kind of just impromptu times. Like if I'm like by myself in the house, maybe like, and like I have the safety where I feel like it's cool to just have a cry, then I'll do it. You know what I mean? But a lot of times it'll just kind of be like I'm like I don't want to just like I guess break down in that moment. You know what I mean?
Okay, I see. Okay, so if I paraphrase a little bit, like that's almost like a little, I wouldn't call it safety, but like you're using situational awareness and going like, okay, how do I have to change myself or my circumstance to get the best outcome of this circumstance?
Yeah.
Like what's happening? Yeah. And you're being very considerate of people around you.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to offer you two thoughts. The first thought is, what if the best version of yourself is that most authentic version that says, oh, I'm feeling this right now, and I'm comfortable enough with you guys as my friends to feel it around you? Yeah. What if you rolled the dice once and got that experience and got to feel what it's like to be supported by people who know you and love you?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The second thing is, whatever your perception is of what would happen if you sat with that, it's of the next time, right?
Right.
But you don't know what would happen the second time or the third time or the fourth time.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Maybe you need one real big cry. Maybe you need 4.
Yeah.
But whatever is going on in your brain, it creates scenarios, right? Yes. So the whole idea of like sitting with yourself and giving yourself the space that you need is, you know, if that's what your body is like, hey, I need this right now. Like if your body's hungry right now, you're going to get food.
Thanks.
If your body goes, yo, I need this right now too, you want to give it that as well.
Yeah.
I'll be vulnerable here. One of the things I struggle with the most with my grandmother passing was, like he mentioned, during that time I was really working on a startup. Again, I'm like my why is like I want to make this money for my family, but I'm really trying to build something, right? I was in between meetings in New York City when I got a call. My grandmother was like in and out of I don't want to say a coma, but like consciousness towards the end of her life, where like her body wasn't able, like her mind was still active, but like she wasn't moving or talking. Right. So she would be out for like days. Right. And I got a call and they were like, oh, she's up right now. Like, hey, do you want to talk to her? And I'm like, no, I'm going to get ready to head to another meeting. Meeting was for like another hour or something like that, 30 minutes, but I was in transit. Right. Again, just like moving. Yeah. I'm like, I'll call after. That was the last opportunity I got to talk to my grandmother. Man. Where she could actually respond. Right. That ate away at me for years. Man. Years. I was so hell bent, so busy, so selfish that I couldn't take a second to talk to my grandmother for the last time. You know, I talked to her on her deathbed maybe 12 minutes before she died, but she couldn't respond back.
Right.
I'm like assuming she heard me, I believe, but
Right.
like,
Right.
and it struggled with me for years. I'm like, oh, you're so stupid, you're so selfish, you're so this, so that. And also, I'm playing the scenario of like, I'm treating myself this way because I'm thinking like maybe she saw me that way. But it took time to realize she didn't. My grandmother got to see me from birth to do amazing things, like go to Georgetown and like play sports all over the world. And she was so proud of me.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it's my choice to choose what to remember. And if something comes up and I need to cry, I give myself the space to that. But to sort of like translate this into like the question you're asking about, I would try giving your body what it needs whenever it needs, and you just might find a brand new perspective on your relationship with those pictures.
Yeah.
Because maybe after you give your body what you need, it just gives you joy.
Sheesh. That's real. That's real. I definitely appreciate that, and I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna try that. The next time
Right.
it comes up, I'm gonna just let it flow.
And if you with me, let it loose.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Let it
Yeah.
loose. I hopefully I create a safe enough space for you to do that. But yeah, man, the people that are around you, they probably feel honored if you felt safe enough to do that in front of them.
So I kind of want to, before we wrap, man, I want to bring kind of full circle. I feel like we've talked a lot about just upbringing and dealing with your emotions, and I kind of spoke on the emotions that I felt with your artwork. And I want to ask you, like, what role do you feel like your emotions, your experiences, your life has poured into your artwork today? You know, and how do you kind of assess that now? You know, when you look at the exhibits you've done and your work and all the things that you've reflected upon just on this episode, or even reduce me to who I am. Like, how do you feel like all those things tie together to make like Keegan Carter?
My entire art career is a representation of my curiosity in action.
Yeah.
It is one of the most authentic forms of my life, because if I'm anything I've ever done, created in art form or show in experience form, is a product of me going, oh, that's interesting to me. I'm willing to invest in putting something together to mirror that.
Yeah.
And that's my life. You know, my life is, again, just passionately, curiously walking through the world, taking note on things and going like, that's kind of cool. What else?
Yeah.
And art is that for me. So, yeah, it's a creative outlet. It's an opportunity for me to take ideas or thoughts and apply them to a specific discipline or area, which is just art overall. But I feel more thankful to the craft than anything else. You know, like someone could not purchase an artwork for the rest of my life. I mean, I'm not wishing that on myself, but you know, I'm not doing it for that reason.
Right.
Right. My intention is so closely tied with my curiosity that, like, me doing it, even exploring it, is the art.
Yeah.
Bam.
That's incredible. Last question I got for you. So obviously art is timeless.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And you've done a bunch of art so far. I know you will continue to do a bunch of amazing art pieces. You know, let's say, 10, 20 years from now, right? If there's one thing that you would want people to take from your artwork, what would that be?
Take from my artwork.
Like when they're in the house and they see your painting on the wall, right? Like what do you want them to feel? What do you want them to think about?
Something about themselves. Everything I do is intended to be a catalyst for the viewer.
Yeah.
So if you if you've had any experience with my work, I hope whenever you see my work, you're reminded of the experience you had, and that's tied to your life, your story, your experience, your passions, your emotions, whatever it might be. I see myself very much so as like a vessel. Things flow through me,
Yep.
but I'm not the centerpiece. I think every person is the main character of their own life, and my work, the intention behind my work is just to help remind people of that, and to give them an opportunity to sort of like have another scene as a main character in their life.
That's a bar. That's a mic drop right there. I have another scene in the main character as the main character in their life.
Yeah.
I love that. I just want to say thank you, brother. Appreciate you for coming on, man. I always end every episode giving flowers, bro. And like I said, I'm gonna always remember that experience that I had at your exhibit. So everything that you're talking about now, like that was my experience. So I hope for all of you that are listening to this, man, you guys can check out his work, check out his website, and have that experience, because I wish that for all of you as well. But I just want to thank you for coming on today, man. Thank you for sharing this space with me. Thank you for giving me some little bit of therapy on this conversation as well, man. I really appreciate it, and I'm definitely excited to continue to see what you do in all aspects of your life, whether it's art, still busting people in the men's league soccer. You know what I mean? I'd like to come check y'all out one day, but everything, man. And like I said, I think you can always see genuine people, when you come across them. So I just want to say thank you for coming on, brother. I appreciate you, your work, and I can't wait to see what comes next for you.
And thank you for having me. I'm humbled that you even reached out to do this and followed through with it. And I want to speak just to your future and your longevity. I think anyone who's ever met you is evident that you radiate such positive energy. It comes through in these conversations. It comes through even when the cameras are off. And so I implore you to keep doing that, because it has an impact. I'm sure you know that. But in the short amount of time I've known you, I've been able to experience myself and also see it live in action. So keep doing that. The world needs it.
I appreciate that, brother. I appreciate that,
Yes,
man.
sir.
Last question we ask all our guests, man, is who should we have next on the What's in Your Bag podcast? Ooh. And whoever you say, you got to get in your, we always say point guard bag, but you're a soccer guy, so give us a little assist and help us get him on the couch, man.
And what are the parameters?
So, like I said, What's in Your Bag it could be an athlete, it could be a creative, it could be somebody who think has a dope story to tell, somebody who think people could learn from or draw inspiration from. That's really the parameters. Like I said, it don't have to be an athlete. It could be somebody who's in the creative space. It could be an artist, somebody who maybe you took something from or were inspired by, and you think what would have a dope story to tell.
Oh, damn! I got a lot of folks. Do they have to be here?
Nah, it could be virtual. We could do a little virtual, Riverside setup. You know what I mean?
Riverside setup. Let me think of someone who's here. I got a couple options. I'm trying to narrow down. I want this to be a really good fit, so I'm narrowing down to. Oh, this is hard. This is hard. Do people usually know off the top of their head?
That's what Austin said you. That's what got you here.
Wow.
And it was crazy because he said you, and then your exhibit was like right after. So it's like, yeah, just pull up. This is what I was talking about.
All right. I'm going to say, I don't know why, but my guy, Clayton, comes to mind. He, one of the best people I've ever met in my life. And also someone who, during very intense race relations in this country, I had consistent conversations with and like level setting mindset with. For context, he's like a 6'5" white guy that I actually met working on the startup in New York. He was working for another company, pitching us on something, and we just stayed friends. But he's an example of someone who's a good person, who tries new things, and reminds me of you in terms of just like infectiously warm, open energy. Yeah, that's who I'm thinking of, Clay.
Bet. Well, we're gonna be in contact with Clay for sure, man. We love to have you on if you're watching this, man.
Yeah.
But again, folks, hope you guys enjoyed this conversation as much as I did. Make sure you're liking, commenting, telling a friend to tell a friend, and goes a long, long way. This is gonna be a wrap on this episode, guys. We'll catch you on the next one. Peace.
Suave. I've been in my bag for a while, I'm invincible. Story of a young boss, grinding shit get critical. Calling on my bros one time, cause you special. I had some hoop dreams of right rounds for my mentor. Every target that I shoot is on point like a pencil. Different road, changed relationships, I'm so sorry. Came up from the trenches and I made it, I say hardly. Now